Welcome to Dungeon Master. I see something ahead. It's ahead in the distance. It's like a shimmering light. It's the Legend of Zelda. I knew this would be one of our dungeons. But relax. We have everything we need. We have the notebook stash of how to get through the dungeons. We have and those are in World 2, we have the instruction booklet. But we have what we need for Dungeon Master. And it's the original Legend of Zelda gold box, as we can see. And I have just torn thousands of dollars to pieces opening this map again. It had been sealed shut to keep it from failing. It's so cosmonological that it's failed, but that it's here 40 years after its conditioning is much more to be gandered about. Now, if you look at this part of the map, we start with down here, we start with Hobbiton, which is the leafy green area that the leafy green elf Link likes to run through. And then he passes on ahead after getting a sword and some bits and fights some enemies over in the maybe the recommendable early forests, where he will fight a bunch of mutants in these clear spaces, because clear spaces are filled even with treacherous monsters, which this appears to be the Gobi Desert. And these are the Nile River's tributaries, Astartes and Remiximus. Okay, we must remember that these names were given second-hand to Leon, only because we can name the places in this one. But Legend of Zelda 1 and 2 has that most insatiable urge of needing the hidden notes to find your way through the dungeons, which this time the map is the dungeon. Because as we look, the Legend of Zelda comes with an instruction guide that has the things you find in dungeons. Magic rings and great drawn art of magic. Oh, and all these amulets and treasure. It's more than any other game you can think of. And it's one of the first games ever released that came out later for a system that needed a re-release. The Nintendo Entertainment System that packed so much into this that was still carefree, that the data we're carrying is the defeat of World 2. Otherwise, this disc would not have lasted as long in significance, but is still not an item to discard from the beautiful artwork and the genuine instructions that it takes to get these things from the game. And I think you'll go game obsessed with the many monsters you face and ways to fight them, and how these are basically the threshold guardians of World 1 is so absurd that it gives away that much. But look, these are just typical enemies that you never even see on World 2, and some of them have been banished from the game only because they were monsters of the Game Maker's 2 debacle. But as Dungeon Master knows, those are all the best games. We trump onward before we get to the next speech. And look, this is hideous. It's unveiling a snake conspiracy with snake large heads chopped to pieces. And then there's a hand, the usher hand of bloodthirsty, ravenous cow sandals that can be only in the hijinks of one thing, too scared to play the game. And that there were even notes in that to that Discord, I discredit you for knowing my completely middle-aged language about which can be accepted for what it wants. Now, this is an interesting idol summoner that I don't remember. The artwork is identical to the artwork they used for the painting of the cells that are move-aroundable in ways that the Nintendo would even show you that it paints all the pixels to get a pixel look that's even more fantastic. In some instances of erasure games, the ending of a game will be absolutely colored in this stock. But the game is too. And then it reveals to you almost a ski map of treasures before it even gets to level 1, and then savagely denies you entrance to the dungeon on a game that we're spelunking for Dungeon Masters isn't the only crime. We must now seek the notes. Legend of Zelda, what to do in order. Level 1, beat it. Candle. Level 2, beat it. Get sword. Buy ring, get letter. Give letter level 3, beat it. Level 4, beat it. Get Drunt's kit. Get potion. Level 5, beat it. Get enemy bait. Level 7, beat it. Get sword and arrow. Level 6, beat it. Level 8, beat it. Level 9, beat it. Oh, this is interesting. There's all these beat it's. Level 1 is Eagle. Agus Monto. Get the low and the bead and the boomerang inside the right wing. 2 is the moon or Dodongo. Get the boomerang in the middle. Manjamon handle. Get the left and the right corner. Snake black. Get the step ladder. Lizard 19 dagger. Get the weights. Dragon Gomes, battle the wand. Demon Agmarantus, get the red candle. Lion black, get the book on the spells key. Death Mountain. This is wilder than a sermon of the black arts I heard just recently. Now I'm all stiffed up and I'm going back to the map because we've got time to tell you what just happened after reading the directions and entering the one thing that we thought would have been a good enough dungeon, and it was the dungeon world of this Legend of Zelda. And how we can't take credit for it at Wizards of the Coast, only options to how AD&D it really is like, even going back to the Atari we had seen once more in this series as a feature, more beautiful in this map that it's composed of images from the game without the enemies, and Link is only in one overlap spot is true. That I've seen this map explained to me by Dylan Hardy and even Jason Sheely is the one map I'll never be able to fill all the spots for because I had to give that map away where I had in all the filled-in spots, and Dungeon Master is paralyzed at what a work of art this game really is and how it must be played gently or abstractly. So we'll start with the sword. Where be my sword? There it be in level 1 area, and then we go somewhere else right away for level 1. Level 2 being out of my memory, we must sail to level 3 eventually, but level 2 and level 4 and level 3 being to the easier side or harder side, or is there an easier or harder side to the manual? I don't remember, but that it seems as to be easier and harder by the side makes no difference, because all we do is revel in the fact that you know the game isn't easy, not on first level. That it increasingly gets hard does not mean it starts off easy, and these words should not even be availed until level 2 is spoken. But now we see the words level 2 written on the map. But that is level 2. But that there's a level 4 and level 2 for the Dark World Remnants and the Light is something that's so concurrent we're thinking they made both games at once and linked them together. Like there was a link to World 1 and World 2, and there's a question mark apropos of what I'm talking about, because if you see that ghastly question mark, that means it's probably a World 2 feature that we need to remember but can't anyway, because it's like, why would this half-complete World 1 map even subject us to that? That is the actual level 1. I'm beginning to realize there are a few written on the map, and that maybe as far as this map helps you, that you're helpless without the Nintendo power is absolutely true, and that you're helpless not to stare at this map for one more minute and know that we have fought through level 2, but up here in this unfilled out, not even room enough section for the threshold of where this game begins building is Death Mountain. And Death Mountain is big. And when you get there, there's lots of people with axes coming at you that are knights. And there's lots of begrudging demons that will come after you in the night. And there's lots of prices you'll have to pay to even get to Death Mountain. So, just remember, fanship, that when you turn on The Legend of Zelda next, you won't just be perplexed or hexed. You'll be seeing where we're actually starting a third of the next part of why I'm turning from the signs of the Zelda manual to these two. Dungeon Master has seen these movies, and they're like Harry Potter in that you learn and use magic. And in both games, they're both doing the same thing, wondering how movies and games even exist. And wandering has led them to the dreamer's path, that one day we will all merge into one game, is a theory I'm trying not to have as Dungeon Master, which is now reaching part 11, and must go fury into what they've prepared in this dastardly cove of what I need references are there still dungeons alive? Now, this is an ultimate threat against the movie. I must now go against my collector instinct and actually open the movie that I bought last year, in fact. And it's a for collector of Harry Potter. Now that they put on Harry Potter to change the way the movie is made and was made before and after, does me no good with this feeling that here I am trying to unbatch it and have no unbatched quorum. Oh, I hope this comes unbatched without damaging anything. You are now hearing Dungeon Master open tape 2, side B, and admit that this is an interesting way to prove that you're going to watch it for the 15th time. No, it was only a gift to have Harry Potter not opened here, but probably will be, because there's frightened things on the Sorcerer's Stone. Even this first side of the collection we opened, this first side was made to look like the second from another one, and will be beamed as we not just open this, but find a cipher place in all of us to know that the deal is done. We're getting open boxes, because there's something about these Harry Potters that gain more collection by opening the box, that you don't have to buy the newest one to get all the features, but that these are the ones that lead to the online features that we need on the same kind of game and network, although Quidditch is the game it invents, and to play Quidditch through here would be quite possible if there wasn't that muggy region in the north called Death Mountain. Now, I'm not going to accept any other obligation than to show you the disc, that it's a brand new Harry Potter. But it gets banged up as much as the rest of them because I'm touching the cover right now to regenerate strength. I'm touching the cover of Harry Potter to open the portal between mind and man, and when I do, it's going to be so venerated that you will not have to escape the fact that Dungeon Master is only in bits and pieces now, and we are going to the level 12. We are going further on, but there's nothing that impedes us from taking our 2 magic books with us, and now we've got 3 magic books, and we're talking the hardest magic out there. The Zelda, the Harry Potter, the Defense Against Evil. The fact that I had to take those courses in Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, not just to help make games like this, but once you've been in the game of Zelda Unbeaten World 2, you'll be in that game forever. And I don't mind homesteaders that use this map to make them look like they have a fanciful ground for their own private use. I don't care. This map is the map of dreams. And that you can't see how to get into Death Mountain is so abstract, because some of the things that are on this side are special surprises, but then you have to get the things on this side to know where this side even is, because you have to go off map. While you're building the map, you have to build the map, and you don't really have a choice to fill in the bulbs, because the bulbs will deteriorate the prime map, and as you see, I'm deteriorating it just by having it out. But it's worth it for this point, because if you want to see what I learned, that they learned, from what I learned to what they learned about Harry Potter, go ahead. But it's a long span of time before I give you anyone the meaning of this box set, which is that all of the films are there. Half-Blood Prince, Order of Phoenix, Deathly Hallows, and that there's not one missing, but that the Philosopher's Stone used to be called the Philosopher's Stone is something we've already determined on Dungeon Master. But that the gaming here is such wizardry connection that it actually flows a transmutation through Link to Harry Potter when he's slaying the dragon in level 1. Because if you say Voldemort's more heinous than Ganon, I'd say you might be right. As hard to kill, maybe so. Never goes away when you reset the button. Terribly tragic for these gamers with the old are trying to save the gamer they're new. And that is why we have come back fully round to the box save. While you can save your position of Harry Potter on most DVD boxes, never before have you seen the emblem of the original box be so gladiated with the fact that we've beat World 1 and World 2 and have gotten the message on the incisor that is so unretractable that we can't even film it. But the fame is not lost, for it looks like Link, it looks like the 2 clips they would have showed that were impossible to win, although I know those weren't the clips necessarily on my box before I beat World 2. Now, it could have just been a changing box thing, which they've got enough power in these sortums to change the picture once. But that's an actual picture of my saved game seems rather atrocious, because it would seem like the game's linearity would take you to that point. But it is not that. It is something else. It is an unobscure rhythm that everybody that when they reach this point of the game has that map, but it looks different positioned than this map, are at the 2 hardest part of the games that both pictures don't even give you clues to get out of them, but could if you studied them long enough. Now, I'm not one to say that I'd bluff on this magical corner being somewhere in this magical spot, if I had to find it. Yes, right in here in the blue dot, because we see that this is a land right before you get to the guidelines, which are outside the mountains of no return. Now, if you remember this one, it's not from level 1. It's probably from level 6. It could be from level 4 on Game World 2. That it's a picture familiar to where I was and what the stats were at that point, you gotta hand it to it. I don't know why we're at those points, at those same stats, but it's non-linearity that fuels this game, because I've had to solve so many puzzles that were so abstract back and forth just to figure out the way to get through each of these dungeons, and now I can't even show the dungeon. The dungeon has been banned. It has been dreadlocked from all of us, and has been seen only in the eye of the Legend of Zelda Handbook, which does in fact show moments of the dungeon in fiery conclusion with what Link really is, and that is a dungeon master. Only that we get back to the scoreboards over here is not a problem, and if we definitely cruise this way, then we see many valuable things about the game and the story come in here, that you can't beat the games without knowing the stories and the pictures, and that my stories and pictures have gone brighter, as though there's a third world would scare me to death, because this is probably instruction manual that starts here, and you have the story preparation before, and then you always keep landing on ring page, because that's the page you need the most. Because remember, Legend of Zelda 1, you can only move a rock if you have a certain ring. And to move a rock if you have a ring is one thing, but ringing rocks with moving things is another thing. So I'll close with this, Dungeon Masters. You may see things that I've kept beyond time and space through pitfall and pit to what they are. And that I still have a game from 40 years ago is a testament to that. It still reacts new to the enchanted mythology of today. That Harry Potter will too rise as the champion of all things of the magic culture. That magic is what we must use in our daily lives. That magic to get by. That magic to twist up. That magic to tell. That magic to steal. our souls for a complicated version of how to get through this game, and then to see that Harry Potter is the strategy game to every game since, because it's the one that takes us to the real witchcraft school where my sorceress mother was trained, and she would be epitome of all hell if I didn't prove that I had beaten these games and seen them all, and from Sorcerer's Stone to the end. And most of the Zelda games I have gained an interesting ability over, only I spent so much time playing this one that the adrenaline to get through anything other than Ocarina of Time would have killed me. See you next week, Dungeon Masters, and try to come sooner, because this has been a short maze which a long textual occurrence can bring us out of. But it is for that we have limited it to 22 minutes, which is the average time it takes to beat level 1 of The Legend of Zelda.